What may be considered as beauty today is definitely different when compared to ancient Greece. Why were their standards of beauty completely different from ours today? That also begs the question, would you or I be considered attractive in ancient Greece? For both men and women in ancient Greece, appearance was certainly of utmost importance. In fact, the ancient Greeks believed that external beauty was directly related to their internal beauty, which meant that attractive people most likely had a strong moral character, while those who were not so attractive most likely lacked it. This applied mostly for men though. Men in particular were commonly referred to as kalos kagathos, a term that combines the words kalos, which means attractive or handsome, and agathos, which means virtuous or good. On the flip side, it was believed that attractive women were destined for bad luck from the start. The ancient Greek poet Hesiod, who was a contemporary of Homer, defined the first woman as kalon kakon, or the beautiful evil thing, in his work Theogony, which narrates the creation of the Greek gods. For example, Helen of Troy, believed to be the daughter of Zeus and Leda, was arguably known as the most beautiful woman in the world of ancient Greece. However, there is little doubt that Helen was not a well-liked character in ancient literature due to her sexual reputation. She had many suitors, as men and warriors basically fought in a 10-year battle over her, known as the Trojan War. At times, she is applauded, but she's more often damned for being sexually active and essentially branded as a whore. In ancient Greece, there was a lot of discussion over the nature of beauty. The subject was widely studied in ancient times by philosophers, mathematicians, and artists. Why mathematicians, you ask? Well, these maths geniuses were used to calculate the perfect symmetrical structure of a face. Any woman who could match or was even close to the ideal symmetry was considered to be more beautiful than the rest. So that suggests Helen probably had a pretty symmetrical face. However, they really meant it when they said symmetry. This brings us to the talk of unibrows. One of the world's most renowned mathematicians, Pythagoras, who created the infamous Pythagoras theorem that we learned in school and never had to use ever again, had also created the golden ratio, which is a geometric formula that connected balance and symmetry to beauty. And not only in things involving people, but in everything. This ratio implies that symmetrical faces are the most beautiful. Unibrows were definitely fashionable and desired back then. Even the eyebrows were subject to this devotion to symmetry. People with unibrows, or linked eyebrows, were viewed as more symmetrical and hence more beautiful in ancient Greece. People who did not already have a unibrow were believed to even paint in the gap of their eyebrows or by using animal hair. There are some historical beauty standards that are in fact appealing to our modern tastes, despite the fact that I think it's safe to say that some of them are not. Humans certainly seem to like symmetrical faces, but not overly chiseled ones according to neurological and psychological tests today. A great reference for ancient Greek beauty is through the many paintings and sculptures that live on. For instance, Aphrodite was a goddess of love, sex, fertility, and beauty, depicted with a round face, large breasts, and a pear-shaped body. This then became the beauty ideal for Greek women. Oh, and fun fact, Greek statues often depict people naked, since nakedness was considered heroic rather than something to be ashamed of or embarrassed about. Even a lot of the females only had a bit of clothing on that left not much to the imagination. However, Greek men weren't always naked during their life. That would be a little extreme, but they were naked when they visited the gymnasium. Only men over the age of 18 were allowed to enter the gymnasium, as it mainly functioned as a training facility for physical exercise and especially for competitors of ancient Greece. It is also interesting to note that the word gymnasium derives from the word gymnos, which means naked. Over time, the gymnasium also became a place for intellectual and philosophical pursuits. Beauty pageants, or kalisteia, were common in ancient Greece, much like they are now. However, many of these were only open to men back then. On the other hand, there are records of women competing in beauty pageants on the Isles of Lesbos and Tenedos. These events were so important that they were frequently mentioned in association with the Olympic Games, and they were held at the same location or around the same time. The body was the main aspect of male beauty. Most attractive were athletic builds with rounded muscular muscles and low body fat. Ancient Greeks regarded men with reddish blonde hair, big lips, and shimmering tans as the most attractive. However, one outstanding attribute of beauty in ancient Greece is one's desire to have a small penis. Ancient Greek playwright Aristophanes wrote that the ideal traits of males were a gleaming chest, bright skin, broad shoulders, tiny tongue, strong buttocks, and a little prick. A big penis would actually indicate stupidity and vulgarity back then. Not only were big penises not desired, small flaccid penises actually represented self-control and good morals, which added to one's desire to have a small penis. This is also a factor in why many male statues are shown in the nude. The penis showed the man's character. Interesting. Nevertheless, in ancient Greece, having a large posterior was praised by both genders. The well-known Aphrodite Kalipygos, which literally translates to Aphrodite of the beautiful buttocks, depicts the goddess flashing her rounded behind. While some could argue that this reflects our modern obsession with enormous behinds, ideal female bodies in ancient Greece frequently had more fat in general all round. To put it simply, ancient Greeks generally favoured slightly curvy women with little bellies and a nipped waist. In a time when many people lived in poverty, a woman's additional weight was seen to be incredibly attractive because it was a sign of her social standing. Women who were thin were probably assumed to be slaves or day labourers back in the day who could not afford to eat enough food since they worked so hard all day. Pale skin was prized in ancient Greece. This beauty standard is certainly relevant in a lot of modern Southeast Asian countries today. One could easily think that staying pale was difficult for ancient Greek women in a place known for its severe heat and many sunny days, especially given that those with Mediterranean complexions tan quite easily. However, especially in Athens, women were primarily confined to the home, except for those who were slaves and members of the lower classes. Many of them were only able to leave the house during special holidays or other important occasions. Slaves and lower-class women had much more liberty to leave the house, which is why they often had tans. Otherwise, women were confined to their houses, which prevented them from spending much time in the sun. This naturally resulted in a pale complexion, but it also gave people a freckled and sometimes even a slightly unhealthy appearance. Countless historical writings advise women to wear powdery, white cosmetics, which were primarily made of lead, to keep a fair complexion and conceal any imperfections. Lead was actually one of the most commonly used cosmetic ingredients in ancient times. It was often used as a paste to whiten the complexion and give a lady a more youthful appearance, but is now known to cause significant developmental delays, infertility, and in extreme cases dementia as well. Women frequently used lipstick and blush produced from organic ingredients like beets and berries to give their faces a flush of colour. In ancient Greece, the qualities that are least common are frequently the ones that are most desired. Blue eyes and reddish blonde hair were regarded as having exceptional beauty in ancient Greece. Ancient Greeks regarded redheads as the epitome of beauty, and ginger hair as a symbol of honour and courage. Even in Homer's Iliad, Greek heroes like Menelaus and Achilles are both described as redheads. Interestingly enough, the ancient Egyptians thought the complete opposite about redheads. According to some scholars, the term blondish red or reddish blonde hair may not particularly refer to the strawberry blonde shade that we think of today. Instead, it could be a golden reddish shade of light brown that shines under the Mediterranean sun. Well, that's it for today's page in history. So do you think you would have been considered beautiful in ancient times? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below, and be sure to check out more videos from our pages in history. Thanks for watching.